Good shot. Not so good. The Indian skipper has done a tremendous job to get back there. Marvellous running catch.
Lords, the afternoon of the 25th of June, 1983.
And Richards has gone for 33.
Indian captain Kapil Dev catches out the great West Indian batsman, Viv Richards.
I wouldn't say it was a difficult catch, but it was a very important catch for Indian history.
And that's out. Yes, it's all over this time.
This catch leads India to win the World Cup, a high point in a country whose cricketing history has always mirrored India's emergence as a nation. Cricket in India is the national sport, revered by those who trust in the virtues of the noble game.
Cricket is associated with uprightness, honesty, integrity, and straightforwardness.
In India, there is veneration for the slow rhythms of Test cricket, where patient batting and probing spin bowling perfectly reflect one part of the Indian psyche.
The brain has always taken precedence over brawn in India. Spin bowlers of that era actually prided themselves in thinking a player out rather than knocking him over.
But after victory at Lord's in 1983, something quite different about India was revealed. For this country of over 1 billion fans, the popularity of the one-day game turned cricket into televised spectacle, with the excitement and drama that Indians call
tamasha, which means entertainment, which something happened almost spontaneously. And cricket had that appeal of tamasha. You know, you went to a cricket match and you could see something exciting.
They're running. It's got to be a direct hit.
A brash new confidence on the pitch reflected a globalized India's ambition beyond the boundary. And now a revolutionary form of cricket has arrived. The 20-over Indian Premier League involves serious money and the best players on the planet. This is the ultimate in cricket tamasha and a declaration of intent that the empire of cricket can now be led by India.
And another one. Well over me.
Second highest total ever by India. Straight down the ground. He's got it through. That's a fantastic century. Rahul Dravid.
Any weekend in India, evidence for the Indian love affair with cricket is everywhere. Boys play in front of the Grand Mosque in Old Delhi. In Mumbai, a group of off-duty waiters compete under the gaze of Indian captain Mahendra Singh Dhoni. And in nearby side streets that Indians call the Gully, cricket full of tamasha takes place. Just a few miles away, the game is played in the more formal settings of the Bombay Gymkhana. And this is where the story of Indian cricket began in the 19th century. During the high summer of the Raj, this whites-only club was where the games of empire were played, including cricket. Here, on the same piece of land, the first group of Indians picked up bat and ball in emulation of the British. They were the Parsi community, who centuries before had fled persecution in Persia to seek asylum in India. Their descendants formed a powerful business and professional class.
We came in contact, when I say we, our ancestors came in greater contact with the Britishers than most other communities. Most enlightened people, doctors, lawyers, businessmen, were Parsis.
Soon others, Hindus and Muslims not wishing to be left behind, also took up cricket. Denied space to play in central Bombay, land was found on the seafront for each community to play, and these gymkhanas still stand today.
They were set up in imitation of the British. They were set up, if you like, in mutual rivalry, and they were set up next to each other, with each club looking out at the other, making sure that the other community and the other club did not sort of get too much of an advantage over them. And that suited the British, because it just showed that there was an essential disunity in India. There was no such thing as India. India was really different communities and different castes.
But out of the rivalry between communities came competitive cricket. By 1912, an annual tournament between Parsis, Hindus, Muslims and Europeans was taking place in Bombay. The quadrangular.
The tournament lasted for going up to 15 days. So it was a sort of a 15 days carnival. People took off from office and it was sort of holiday spirit for all. There was a lot of enthusiasm about these communal matches.
Outside of Bombay, cricket was spread by the patronage of the Hindu and Muslim princes of India. The Maharajas and Nawabs promoted cricket by building grounds and running their own teams.
I think a lot of the Rajas and Maharajas took it up to remain close to the British. Some of them actually became better than many British players, of course. And it was the sponsorship of the Rajas and Maharajas pre-independence which kept it going and gave it the importance and the encouragement to keep it not only going but to expand it to a great extent. And once the Maharajas did it, then of course the people also followed it.
The first star of Indian cricket was employed by the Maharaja of Holkar. This was Colonel C.K. Naidu. Naidu made his reputation in 1926, playing for the Hindus against the MCC at the Bombay Gymkhana. He scored 153 in under 2 hours, hitting 11 sixes.
C.K. Naidu, he was a great hitter. Now you all of you get the great height. From here, he cleared the stadium. The C.K. stepped out and just did that easy, and ball sailed over this, and on the deck beyond it, there is a tennis court there, landed on the tennis court.
This innings also had a political meaning.
Naidu was showing with the bat that he was the equal of an Englishman. That question of equality, not equality in the law, because of course Britain ruled India and Indians therefore were not good enough to rule themselves, but at least on the cricket field with the bat against an Englishman holding a ball, he could smash him for 6 after 6 and prove that he was not his inferior. The question of self-esteem, the question that here is an Indian, a brown face with brown hands, who could measure up to a white man.
Meanwhile, the hot sun of India beats down upon the cricket ground at Bombay as England take the field for the first test match to be played on Indian soil against an English side.
Naidu was captain when in 1933 the first ever test match was played in India against an England captained by Douglas Jardine. The game took place over 4 days at the Bombay Gymkhana.
50,000 have turned out to see it, for the popularity of cricket is in the ascendant in India.
At stumps, a band would play God Save the King. Though India lost by 9 wickets, one young cricket fan in the ground was thrilled by a knock of 118 runs by Indian batsman Lala Amarnath.
I have very vivid memories of the match, but Amarnath really stands out. He scored a brilliant 118. He became the first Indian to score 100 in Test cricket.
By 1937, an elegant new stadium in Bombay, the Brabant, was staging the festival of communal cricket.
The Hindus came out to field with a not very safe total of 315 for their second innings behind them.
again in front of huge crowds.
With 1 wicket intact and only 21 minutes to play, the Muslims won the match and the tournament. It was the sort of match you didn't have to know the records backwards to enjoy. It was as exciting as a horse race, with every bit as thrilling a finish. This was cricket.
But the idea of Hindus playing Muslims had become a political issue. The 1930s and 40s were times of crisis and violence in India, as nationalists demanded independence from Britain. Gandhi considered sport played between communities to be sectarian, divisive, an obstacle to a new India. The Mahatma pronounced,
I should have thought that such unsportsmanlike divisions should be considered taboos in sporting language and sporting manners. Can we not have some field of life which would not be untouched by communal spirit?
When independence did come, there was a doubt whether cricket, as the game of empire, would survive.
At the stroke of the midnight hour, when the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom.
Luckily, India's first Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru, Harrow and Cambridge, believed that Indians should keep the best of their colonial past.
Cricket was never in any danger of being regarded as a kind of colonial remnant, because the class of person who inherited the state from their erstwhile colonial masters were people who'd been socialized into it. Nehru actually was a fan.
The Indian parliamentary cricketers were presented to Dr. Prasad, the president, on the occasion of the charity match at New Delhi. Premier Nehru captained the lower house team, though he last played cricket at Harrow in 1913.
For someone like Nehru, cricket was important. It was something that represented not a colonial leftover, but which represented a kind of continuity within the history of our country.
Mr. Nehru had a knock in the second innings, but declared himself morally out when he'd made one.
In the years after independence, cricket became vital in the task of nation building.
What was said was, don't talk about your origin, don't talk about where you come from, just talk about India. And that cricket team represented that symbol, another symbol of the new India, not full of religious hatred or other divides that were obviously evident in the society.
But teams of the new India travelling abroad were weakened by the loss of players to the new state of Pakistan. Touring England during the summer of 1952, players like Madhav Mantri had a torrid time.
1952, first of all, I must tell you, the great Freddie Truman, and on his debut, he took those wickets.
Starting their second innings at Headingley during the first test, they lost their first wicket for naught to fiery Fred Truman. They lost a second, again for a duck. Then wicket-keeper Madhav Mantri faced Truman.
So I was ready to play in Sringa, you see. The ball didn't swing at all, it came straight. And I was not covered, so clean ball, no problem.
After this third wicket, another fell quickly. The Indians were now 0 for 4. This remains the worst ever start in Test history. Throughout the 50s, results seemed to echo a new country on the back foot, struggling. One cricketer growing up during this period felt the mood keenly.
But I think there was a complex. I think being ruled by the whites for almost 200 years, then coming across them on the field, on level ground, so to speak, made a lot of Indians feel a little hesitant. especially when the best teams didn't come. Because England didn't bother to send their best teams, Indian cricket being very immature in those days.
When the Winchester and Oxford-educated Mansoor Ali Khan Pataudi became captain, the player known as Tiger decided to do something about this malaise.
We're going to play an aggressive game with a great deal of caution. We will certainly try and win, but if we find that we're losing, we shall try and make it as difficult for the opposition to win as we can.
It's a lovely hit. It's straight down the ground. An Indian spectator just in front of me, holding up his hands very quickly to signal a six.
He gives the impression that if there is a win to be had, he would pursue it. He doesn't seem timorous. I think that's the word I'm looking for. He doesn't seem cautious. He doesn't seem timorous. He seems like someone who'd make the best of what he had.
Lovely crisp shot, 4 runs. Another lovely square cut from Pataudi. Many of his runs have come there off short ball.
The idea of playing the game was to win. Before I joined the team, the idea seemed to let those 5 days pass somehow without losing.
Field coming in a bit closer. Edrich running in from third man.
Playing at Headingley, the scene of cricketing nightmare 15 years earlier, Tiger led by example.
And that's gone through for 4, and that's his 100. Pataudi, 6 Test 100.
Tiger scored innings of 64 and 148.
Bowl him, and that's the end of a great innings by Pataudi.
But there was much more to Pataudi's mission. Tiger is the 9th Nawab of the former princely state of Pataudi and a Muslim. It took somebody of his background to persuade selectors to pick a team on merit and truly representing all India.
Tiger was the first Indian captain who gave us the feeling of Indianness. I'm not playing for Delhi or Madras or for Bombay or for Calcutta. You're playing for India. Think India. That was Tiger's greatest contribution.
Beneficiaries of Tiger's meritocracy were a quartet of spinners who for more than a decade mesmerized batsmen from all over the world. From Bangalore and Mysore in the south came Prasanna and Chandrasekhar. From the city of Madras, Venkat. And from Amritsar in the north, the slow left-hander, Bishan Bedi.
Well, my philosophy of spin was very, very simple. That as a spinner, I had very little margin of error. That was one. Number 2, I couldn't, if I got annoyed or upset with somebody, I couldn't knock anybody's head off. So I had to rely on guile. I always wanted the batsman to use their feet. I wanted to pull him out from the crease to come and attack me. And then, in the process, I'm attacking also, because I've got 2 or 3 fielders close to the bat.
Working with these great spinners at close quarters was wicketkeeper Farooq Engineer.
I saw the way they gripped the ball, the way it left their fingers in the air and off the pitch. It was like a split-second computerized effect. And that's what great spin bowling and great wicket-keeping is all about. Coordination, hand-eye coordination. You've got to be quick. Your reflexes have got to be quick down the leg side. You're anticipating. There's a blind spot there.
Spin bowling benefited from the climate of India that produced dry, hard, and cracked pitches. But it also came out of the very psyche of the country itself.
The brain has always taken precedence over brawn in India, and fast bowling was seen as this brawn industry. And so the spin bowlers of that era actually prided themselves in thinking a player out rather than knocking him over. And I think that's an Indian trait. We produce fantastic software engineers, for example. We've always produced very high quality scientists because we pride ourselves on being a thinking, erudite country. If you talk to the classical spin bowlers in India, the Bedis, the Prasannas, they took pride as much in taking a wicket as the manner in which they took the wicket. And there was this great pride, almost arrogance in saying, you know what, I thought him out.
out.
And disqualified.
In 1971, an Indian team including all four spinners and wicketkeeper Engineer toured England, where they had never won a match.
And that's it. So there we are, the first wicket.
After 2 draws in the first 2 tests, a third was played at the Oval. After both first innings, the game was finely balanced. Then, with England batting again, up stepped the maverick Chandrasekhar, with bowling propelled by his polio-withered right arm.
Chandra to Edridge.
Oh! Middle and off.
He made a defect into an enormous asset. His right arm was so thin, his wrist was almost broken, just went round and round. With the result, he bowled leg breaks and googlies without actually realizing sometimes which way the ball was going.
Well, this is an uncomfortable period for Keith Fletcher. Just 3 balls to go before lunch.
He's gone. Bat unpaired. Caught by Solkar.
Fletcher looked absolutely devastated. Absolutely devastated. Like a rabbit caught in the headlights. And from that moment on, it seemed to be that England were mesmerised.
Still these 3 short legs hovering just a few yards away from Illingworth. Silly mid-off.
And he's caught and bowled. Full toss, driven straight back at Chandrasekhar.
Oh, he's out! Oh, what a good catch! Venkat at slip, and look at Chandra. What a day! What a day for India! Yes, caught and bowled!
Chandra's 6 wickets for 38 runs led to England being bowled out for a mere 101.
That was one spell. I mean, I can still talk about it in my dreams. Fantastic spell.
Oh, he's out! Oh, what a good catch! And look at Chandra, caught and bowled!
The last day of play coincided with a festival for the Hindu god Ganesh, god of luck. But memories of past failure made for an oval full of nervous Indians. India needed 174 runs to win and was 6 wickets down when Farooq Engineer was joined at the wicket by the tailender, Abid Ali.
Lofted in the air. Abid Ali panicky, wanting to go.
And after that stroke, I think you'll find, yes, that Engineer is going to have a word with Abid Ali.
We had 1 run to win. I said, Abid, don't take any risks. You know, we want to win this test match. Okay.
And he's cut that away.
And he charged out again to Derek Under or something, got a top edge over the slips, 4 runs, and he won the test match.
Chose to away for 4 and giving India victory here in the Oval Test match. 174 for 6.
For about 3 hours that day, I didn't move from the spot I was standing, lest I disturb the cosmic forces. You know, it was that sort of match because it was so important to register the first ever victory on English soil and win the series. And yet the feeling was that surely that dream can't be realised.
There must be some weight they're carrying there. Farooq Engineer, who must be well over 14 stone.
But to build on victories like this, India would need players who could regularly make big scores. Included in the 1971 team was a 22-year-old batsman, Sunil Gavaskar.
Chalo, come on, tap. Come on, watch the ball. 1, backlip. Straight, come on, watching the ball. 2, watching the ball is very important. Come on, watch the ball, watch the ball. Maintain your balance. Balance is the key. Come on.
Sunil Gavaskar came from Bombay, always the source of serious run-making in India.
Slowly. Now do a drive. Backlip, 1. That's it. Come on, 2, 3.
Here, boys still learn the core values of the Bombay school of batting, a steady, correct and orthodox technique that was Gavaskar's gift to Indian cricket.
Watching the ball is very important. Come on, watch the ball, watch the ball. Imagine that bowler is coming towards you. Come on, watch the ball. Yes, watching the ball is very important.
Everyone from my generation, they all wanted to be Sunil Gavaskar. Growing up as a kid, my brother would only give me examples of Sunil Gavaskar. the target for me as a school kid was 35 test hundreds.
Sunil Gavaskar made his first test appearance at Lord's in 1971 when he came shoulder to shoulder with fast bowler John Snow.
So that didn't look a very nice incident to me. No question at all that he was impeding that little batsman there, in my opinion.
This David and Goliath confrontation showed a defiance that helped Gavaskar score over 10,000 test runs as the little man stood up to the fastest and meanest bowlers in the world.
There were two things people said Indians could never do. One was bowl quick and one was bat against quick bowling. Indians were the butt of all jokes when it came to facing fast bowling. And suddenly this man went up and resisted fast bowling, and for the first time an Indian batsman could lay claim to being, if not the best batsman in the world, among the best batsmen in the world. And he went, and without a helmet, of course helmets we didn't know much about in those days, faced the quickest bowlers in the world.
There it is, and it's beautifully timed, backward of point. Captain Gavaskar hitting back for India.
Gavaskar played long and patient innings of accumulation, vital. Yet to further India's ambition as a cricketing nation, something extra was needed. This came in the late 70s, when from Chandigarh in the north came an all-rounder with real aggression and attitude. This was Kapil Dev, a warrior with the bat.
The faster the ball comes, the faster you send it back.
And what was new for India, a warrior with the ball.
Catch. Good ball too. 4 wickets to Kapil Dev.
He could answer fire with fire. He could bowl a bouncer, make the opposition batsman duck. That sight of the opposition batsman ducking against an Indian bowler was a very symbolic act. A whole generation of Indian cricket followers, remember, had grown up with their batsmen ducking and squatting on the floor as the ball flew over their head.
And he's given him out. Kapil Dev was 2 wickets now to his name as England slightly.
My aggression was, okay, let's play from the front. Perhaps my previous generation of cricketer, they didn't know how to win matches. For them, saving the test match was as good as winning the test match.
This absence of nerviness, this absence of self-consciousness, this freedom from history, that he was an athlete who happened to play cricket. This was new.
At Lord's in 1983, Kapil Dev was captain of a team who were underdogs in the one-day World Cup final against the formidable West Indians.
Well done, that's beautifully bowled. Gavaskar has gone, the first wicket down, and Andy Roberts, in the middle of this great spell of bowling from himself and Joe Garner, has taken the first Indian wicket, and that really is the one they wanted.
Well, there were a few Indians with signs outside Lord's saying, you know, India's going to win, but the bookmakers were offering ridiculous odds.
That's out, and straight to the man behind square leg.
All assumptions about the game seemed to be confirmed when India batted first and reached only 183 runs.
When we bowled them out that cheaply, and it was almost as if we were in automatic gear. You know, we'll beat India, especially now that they've set us such a meager target.
The West Indies were 50 for 2 when Viv Richards came in and began to lay into bowler Madan Lal.
Let's have some more.
I bowled 2 overs, and Richard hit me about 12 runs in 1 over. The third over, like you know, me and Kapil was you know, discussing whether you should bowl or not. You know, I told him to give me the ball. I'll bowl this over. If I don't bowl well, you can change me next over, because I knew that Richard is after me. So that is the only way you can get him out, if he's after you.
Then the catch that would change the course of the game.
Away to within 15 yards of the boundary, and the Indian skipper has done a tremendous job to get back there. Marvellous running catch.
I don't remember much. I just went, it's the reflexes take over. And I saw the ball in the air for a while, and I start running sideways. Halfway through, realize it's within my reach.
It wasn't an easy catch. It didn't come straight to his hand. He had to do a bit of running. He had to get underneath it.
My heart was in my mouth, so to say, as the ball went up. There were 2 or 3 players circling around it, but Kapil said, mine.
I went with the motion, and I was lucky I was there.
At that stage, of course, one was only hoping that, the margin of defeat would be lessened. But once that catch was taken, that moment was decisive.
The Indian medium pacers were now able to exploit English conditions of cloud cover to swing the ball.
He's gone! Lloyd has caught Evan. West Indies in total disarray now.
It had an impact. We were lackadaisical, we became complacent.
Reaches Nix, he's called, he's out.
We took things for granted. Wickets started to fall, and we just thought to ourselves, well, somebody will get those runs anyway.
And he's pulled it on.
And it depressed the West Indies to a fantastic degree. Suddenly their target of 183, which looked so easy, now looked very remote.
And that's out. Yes, it's all over this time. Lost his nerve in the end, and Michael Holding tried to swing that straight ball to leg. It's another wicket for Almanath. Now delighted he looks.
When the last wicket fell, when Michael only got out, we thought that is the only time we thought we won the World Cup.
I don't remember what exactly happening. I want to hold on to the cup, and they were giving me, and I want to push it back. I think I was totally spaced out at that time, and I just took the cup. What they were saying with that noise, I don't remember. I don't remember at all.
Back in India, victory finally did sink in.
At that moment when we landed in Bombay, hundreds of thousands of people standing on the road, and we are in the bus, and we didn't know how to react.
Victory at Lord's not only signalled India's emergence as a cricketing power, it showed, as Prime Minister Indira Gandhi told the nation, we can do it. In 1991, India was transformed into a country which could do it in a rapidly changing world. Socialist planning and economic protectionism were replaced by privatization and access to India for foreign multinationals. Cricket, as the national game, became a critical arena for new money.
You had all this corporate money suddenly. These were multinational companies which were not allowed to come into India before that. And now you had the Cokes and the Pepsis and the Adidas. They were coming with phenomenal advertising budgets. And cricket to them was the obvious arena where to spend. It was seen as something which was pan-Indian. It cut across all strata. It was as popular in the north as in the south, as in the east and the west. And with all this money coming in, cricket was transformed quite dramatically in that period of about 3 or 4 years. The ambitions of India itself grew as a player on the cricket stage.
A very good evening to you and welcome once again. It's Thursday night on Dial C for cricket. My name is Manish Valicha, and as usual we're here with a question for you on the back of that selection for those.
With the opening up of the economy came satellite television, which has made cricket a 7 days a week, 24-hour experience for homes all over India.
That's why we see Vijay in the side, because he impressed everybody in the last test match he played against Australia.
Satellite television brought cricket from all over the world into India. And when satellite television went into what we call the second and the third grade towns in India, little kids there who didn't have access to world sport suddenly started watching cricket from Australia, from England, later on from South Africa as well. And that has led to the big small-town boom in Indian cricket. Because all of a sudden, high-quality commentators, high-quality pictures, they're learning cricket from television, and they didn't have to be in the big cities anymore. The arrival of satellite television took world cricket into the smallest corners of India.
Good stroke there. Bowled in, left it alone. Complete misjudgment on the part of Vengsarkar. Out he goes.
With the game ever more popular across India, parks were filled to bursting with aspiring cricketers. It was on these Maidans in Bombay that the next star to graduate from this city's celebrated batting academy first hit the headlines. Sachin Tendulkar was only 15 and playing on the Azad Maidan when he took part in a remarkable partnership with his friend Vinod Kambli.
We're having a lot of fun. We were kind of singing in between the overs and cracking jokes and all those kind of things and hitting boundaries. And it was fabulous. We got those some 664 runs in just over a day. And it's a huge ground. Every over we are hitting a couple of boundaries, and the guys were not really enjoying the opposition. There were a couple of guys apparently cried also, which we got to know later. But I scored 326 not out, and Vinod scored 349 not out. It was wonderful those days.
The schoolboy Tendulkar was fast-tracked into the national team.
By the time he was 15, he had played for Bombay. He was playing against some of the best bowlers in India. And by the time he was 16, he was facing up to bowlers of the caliber of Imran Khan and Wasim Akram and Waqar Yunus. And these were very staggering achievements.
His first Test series in England was in 1990.
That's a half-century for Tendulkar. Lovely stroke.
On the final day of the Old Trafford Test, Tendulkar produced a match-saving innings to announce that here was the heir apparent to Sunil Gavaskar.
I don't know. I mean, I just went out and played the cricket I know. I didn't try to be different. Obviously, there were plenty of fielders in the attacking positions. A lot of chat going around.
That'll do. Way overslip.
He was determined from ball number one. You know, the way he played straight, the way he played the English bowlers in English conditions, the way he adapted himself to the pitch that day, it was phenomenal to watch. And I, for one, was filled with great pride that this young boy is performing so well.
And there it is. Test match 100 for Tendulkar.
Sachin Tendulkar had scored his first Test century at only 17 years and 112 days. In the years that followed, Tendulkar matured into arguably the best Test batsman in the world by playing against the best.
Gone for him, beautifully played.
Sachin's been able to fuse the orthodox and the unorthodox, the attacking and the defensive, to be able to score runs quickly while still eliminating risk. But Sachin's always had the pressure of playing Test cricket at the same time, playing in increasing number of venues all around the world, playing more cricket every year. Just the ability to manage all of that, I think Sachin has been the package.
Sachin Tendulkar has scored thousands of runs, not only in Test matches, but also in international one-day games.
50 or 57 balls. He's a lovely little batsman to watch.
The explosion of limited overs cricket worldwide in the 80s and 90s had created a colourful, fast-paced, new kind of sporting event. Pyjama cricket was scandalising traditionalists, but it was helping create a new winning mentality amongst Indian cricketers.
They don't play for draw. And one-day cricket taught you one thing beautiful: there is nothing draw. One-day cricket, either you win or lose. That's changed a mindset of Indian players also. We have to go for the win.
As for the fans, the one-day game appealed to the extrovert, loud, frenetic and haphazard side of their lives that could never be satisfied by Test cricket.
Indians actually are fast-paced people. The favorite word in India is jaldi, which means hurry. You'll hear that, jaldi, jaldi, hurry, hurry. What one-day cricket did, the success of one-day cricket did, was it made Indians realize it was a form of cricket which was much better, more lucrative in the sense of actually winning, having success, than the 5-day test match, which was much more enjoyable. So Indians took to that.
Terrific shot. 4 all the way, straight along the carpet. The batsman's name is Tendulkar.
When India co-hosted the 1996 World Cup, there was enormous expectation from players and fans that their team would go all the way. The home side got through to the semi-final to face Sri Lanka at Calcutta's vast stadium, Eden Gardens. Sri Lanka first got 251. India, with Tendulkar at the wicket, were going well.
Oh, he's got him! Yes, he's got him! I'm sure he's out. This could be a vital wicket. It was very, very well done. He's asked for the replay. Again, let's have a look. Back comes his front foot. He goes forward and his bat's in the air. That is definitely out. India are going to be 98 for 2. They are. Oh, he's bowled him. He's bowled him round the legs. That's a magnificent delivery.
He's bowled him round his legs again.
Away. This is going to be out quarter time. The air's coming down. Yes, he's got him. This is going down the ground too. This could be out. There'll be a collision. He's got him. Yes, another one. The Indians are committing suicide. One by one, they're hitting him in the air, and one by one, they're being toppled.
An Indian collapse provoked the crowd.
And unfortunately, we've got a few problems out there. The Indians really are not taking this very well. Their bottles being thrown out onto the ground, but they really are not happy with their side. Police are beginning to circle. There are 110,000 people in this ground.
But the fact is that the Calcutta crowd is a very fair weather crowd. That when India's doing well, it's a fantastic crowd to watch, but they turn against very, very quickly. Calcutta crowds are waiting to erupt.
The Sri Lankans, I can tell you, have all got themselves together. They're not about to go and stand on the boundary.
The uncle who had taken me there said, "We must leave, there's going to be a riot." And I almost had tears in my eyes because I couldn't bear to leave the stadium. But he was right, and we went home and we watched the match. I saw the rest of it on television, and it was very sad because I think even at that age, of course you feel bad seeing your own team lose like that. But just the fundamental indecency of that event, I think was a very sad day for Indian cricket.
The crowd, that's Clive Roy, the match referee, going to speak to the umpires. He can make the decisions, can Clive Lloyd, former West Indies captain.
Faced with riot, match referee Clive Lloyd awarded the match to the Sri Lankans.
The match has been abandoned.
If your crowd throwing stones on you, I don't think we've got a huge amount to defend there. But the manner in which it happened, Vinod Kambli walking off, crying because he thought he might have taken India to victory, there was a lot of sadness there. But remember, Indian cricket is followed like the Indian film. There has to be a lot of comedy, there has to be a lot of joy, and there has to be a lot of sadness, because all that is one package. And I think we saw that side of the package that day in '96.
There has always been a darker and violent side to cricket in the subcontinent. During the 90s, this was found in matches between India and Pakistan. The trauma of partition, war, a dispute over Kashmir, and now the threat of terror has complicated cricket between these neighbours and rivals.
Indian-Pakistan games have always been very charged. It's a family feud. It was once a family which is split up, which is never going to come together. And therefore, a family feud always leads to a lot of bitterness.
A match in 1997 was one such family affair.
Just wonder if they're getting a little too involved. It's one of the players involved there that looks like Inzamam ul Haq has gone into the crowd. Now that's very, very unusual.
During the limited overs Sahara Cup, the Pakistan player Inzamam ul Haq was abused by Indian fans.
Hey, that is very, very ugly. I'm afraid it's not looking good at all.
So he decided on some rough justice of his own.
I actually think at that point, India and Pakistan playing cricket were actually dividing people rather than bringing them together.
Well, I can't believe that he's gone in there unless somebody has provoked him. Somebody has said something or thrown something at him.
In the late 90s, the feeling of a sport gone bad deepened when rumours of match fixing began to circulate. In a media frenzy, leading Indian cricketers were accused. Then a police report proved that there were direct links between players and illegal bookmakers.
People lost faith in everything they had seen, in all the matches they had seen. They no longer trusted results. I had friends who didn't watch cricket for years after that. It was just the absolute loss of faith in the sport.
Sickening. Absolutely sickening. And when some of the players were found to be indulging in that kind of nonsense. No. Cricket died many deaths then.
To take Indian cricket out of darkness and into the light, there was a need for a new leader. So, in 2000, the Indian selectors took a gamble on a player from the hotbed of Indian cricket, Calcutta. This was Sourav Ganguly, nicknamed Maharaj.
He is a man from a very, very privileged background, but yet with a very strong sense of mongrel in him on the cricket pitch. He is at once a very self-absorbed man, but yet he was able to give a remarkable amount of himself to his teammates.
Oh, 4 runs again. Pitched up and smashed down the ground for 4. So this Indian attack at the moment is looking very ordinary.
Ganguly's first real challenge as captain came in the home series against Australia in 2001.
Caught at second slip. A comfortable catch there for Ricky Ponting.
The teams met for the second test at Ganguly's home ground, Eden Gardens. What followed was one of the most remarkable games of cricket in Indian history.
So McGrath's been bowling in swing is to Tendulkar. And that's it again. Big shout, he's given it.
The Australians scored 445 in their first innings. India replied with only 171 and were forced to follow on, to bat again.
There is a deathly silence around this ground.
By the third day of the match, the Indians were in trouble.
If you ask anyone on the third day at lunchtime who's going to win this game, every 100 out of 100 would have said Australia, because we were in no position to win.
Ganguly, as captain, was facing disaster. And this was Eden Gardens, with its taste for riot, so anything was possible. Yet over the next 3 days, India batted to a score of 657, with one remarkable innings of 281 from batsmen VVS Lakshman.
You couldn't put it into a novel. This man comes in, he comes in one drop because Ganguly, in an inspired move, demotes Rahul Dravid to number 6, who's our customary number 3. Lakshman isn't an enormously aggressive batsman in his body language. What he is this languid, limber, just beautiful batsman to watch. He stands there and stroke by stroke, he creates this bizarre day in which he and Rahul Dravid bat out an entire day without losing a wicket.
On the 5th and final day, Australia needed 384 to save the match.
And it's a big shout, he's out! That was beautifully bowled by Tendulkar.
Sachin, the master batsman, had chanced his arm.
What will the umpire do? Give him out! Wrapped on the pads, yeah, the big line's gone up. He didn't pick up the googly. That was beautifully bowled by Tendulkar.
I got Hayden, I got Gilchrist and Vaughan. All 3 wickets were important ones, but Harbhajan did major damage.
He's batted that. Oh, he's given him! He's given him! Umpire Bansal's given him! That's the end of the test match. India have won. India have won in dramatic style. The whole of Bengal are on their feet.
It's the ultimately improbable test match. And because it's played against what is possibly the greatest team in modern times, it's a comeback that is for the ages. And it's immortal also because of what happens next. We win the 3rd match in Madras. So we actually win the series.
The next year, success on the raucous terraces of Eden Gardens was followed up at the home of cricket in good manners. At Lord's, in the final of the one-day series against England, there was another dramatic finish.
It's got to be a direct hit! Just missed. And they're getting back for 2.
Sourav Ganguly now behaved in a way which was symbolic of a new mood in India.
The fielder had to throw the ball. This time it's Ganguly with his shirt off.
You know, we've always harbored thoughts of telling people, listen, get stuffed yourself, but we never did it. We're a great talking nation. We weren't a great doing nation. And they found that when Sourav came along and he actually took that shirt off, people said, someone's actually done it. Someone's done what we wanted to do. And there wasn't a scriptwriter who wrote it for him, he just did it.
He was a generation of Indians, born almost 30 years after Indian independence, who had no sort of colonial baggage, hadn't come with any colonial baggage. This was a man who could say, yes, I'm an Indian, so what? I'm as good as anybody else. It doesn't matter what happened 100 years ago and what my ancestors did. You've got to take me as I am. And this was a very new, and for many Indians, a very liberating voice to hear.
Today, India is on the verge of superpower status. A nation that now dictates to the world, buys up the world. India has sent a rocket to the moon, an assertion that for this country, the sky is not the limit. And back on Earth, there is a new cricket tournament that loudly expresses the energy and wealth of a nation in a hurry.
Primarily to revitalize the cricket product for earning opportunities for players.
This is the Indian Premier League, a 20-over format invented in England, but now given a very Indian identity.
Even before the tournament had actually started, you could actually feel that this tournament is going to become huge. This is going to get massive response.
Inspired by the footballing example of the English Premier League, city-based franchises have been created and sold for over £500 million.
$950,000 I'm bid to start here. I have
Players from all over the world are auctioned for sums beyond £1 million.
Chennai, $1,550,000. Andrew Flintoff.
India is a very rich cricketing nation where a lot of people are looking to make investments in cricket. and for the first time, money came out into the Indian cricket market in the form of private enterprise. I think history will record 20 years from now as IPL as the greatest turning point ever in the history of the game.
The boss, the one and only Sachin Tendulkar, the incomparable Saint-Laurent, Ganguly.
The IPL is what its marketing men call a premium product, with its East-West mix of Bollywood soundtracks and cheerleaders. For some, 2020 is an affront to the traditions of cricket.
I find it suffocating, honestly. I find it the most vulgar expression of cricket. This is not cricket, no.
For those involved, this 3-hour eruption of bat and ball is an exciting and lucrative new cricket adventure.
I don't think I've experienced anything like the IPL, the intensity and the passion of the crowd, 70,000, 80,000 at every game, 110,000 at Eden Gardens. It was just electric. It was like a grand final or an FA Cup final, just screaming after every ball.
It was full of action and people loved it. Kids, 6, 7-year-olds also enjoyed because all they keep talking about is 6s and 4s, and that includes my son. So I keep telling him sometimes it's not bad to defend.
Whatever the reservations, this is consumer-friendly, prime-time entertainment. The ultimate tamasha you can have at a cricket match.
This is a domestic tournament having the world's best cricketers on display and putting on a show, as if to say, right, you want to see cricket, you want to see fun, you want to see 3 hours of entertainment, here are all the world's great entertainers in front of you, what more do you want? And they've got a television audience at home where they say that this television audience reaches out to parts of the public that have never been touched by cricket. The housewife at home, you know, in between cooking supper for her family, she can watch the cricket, and then, you know, over supper the family can watch the rest of the game.
And suddenly there were ratings dropping of other television shows. A friend of mine called up and said, I'm really scared at what this IPL is doing because my wife is asking me what is Albie Morkel's test record, and she's never watched a cricket match in her life. It brought a lot of people into the game, and combined this razzmatazz, I think it also told Indians that we are at the cutting edge of something that's changing the world.
The IPL is the latest chapter in the long story of Indian cricket, from the game of empire to the riches and razzmatazz of today.
What a shot! What a shot!
Up until now, there has been a kind of harmony between the two parts of the Indian cricketing soul, nourished by Test cricket and the one-day game.
21 not out. Now here is the first sign of real aggression.
But there are fears that this big-hitting newcomer will end up destroying traditions ancient and modern in India and the wider empire of cricket. Yet despite security problems in the subcontinent, sending the IPL to South Africa, what is clear is that on and off the pitch, all eyes will remain on India.